Chapter 560. Before leaving, Grandpa, are you saying that an ancient mighty figure has activated the heaven-locking array in the Black Continent and that we can't cross worlds? One Huangfu Yuyan looked at Xianyuan Tianming's expression and was extremely shocked. In terms of cultivation base, she was no match for Li Lingtian. However, she was also a martial saint powerhouse in the past. Moreover, she was a martial saint from a super family. One of the 10 martial saints of the Divine Continent had crossed over from the Divine Continent to the Green Continent. In the big families, they naturally had a wide range of knowledge and experience. They had also read a little about some ancient secrets of the Black Continent in ancient books. Now that Xianyuan Tianming mentioned the Black Continent, he also thought of how terrifying the Black Continent was. She was Li Lingtian's wife and Xianyuan Yingying's good sister. Naturally, she had to address Xianyuan Tianming as her grandfather. It was natural and not pretentious at all. I forgot about you, little girl. That's right. Other places are still all right. Even the Divine Continent has ancient restrictions, but there are people who can break them. However, the Mystic Continent has always been the most mysterious place in the Divine Martial Continent. The ancient Almighty had set up a heaven-locking array in the Black Continent. It's impossible for a real heaven-locking array to cross worlds. If I forcefully cross over, I'll be courting death. When Xianyuan Tianming heard Huangfu Yuyan's words, he was startled. He immediately remembered Huangfu Yuyan's identity. In the past, this little girl was one of the 10 martial saints of the Divine Continent. Although the 10 great martial saints were a little exaggerated, they were still the most outstanding martial saint geniuses of that generation, or perhaps that decade. As the proud daughter of a super family in the Divine Continent, she naturally knew a lot. Grandfather, have you forgotten that Ling Tian is also a saint array master apart from being a saint alchemist? Ling Tian knows a thing or two about formations in the world, even if it's an ancient forbidden formation. Even if there's a heaven-locking formation, I have a way to break it. Li Lingtian chuckled with a calm expression on his face. He had never been afraid of anyone when it came to formations. As long as Qing Xian or Xian Continent had the core of the formation, he would be able to cross over. I'm getting old and muddle-headed. I forgot about this matter. However, you have to be careful. In this world, many things cannot be solved by strength. I won't say anything more. I'll think of a way to contact them and have them activate the core of the formation. I'll inform you when the time comes. Xianyuan Tianming was shocked when he heard Li Lingtian's words. He was so concerned that he forgot about Li Lingtian's identity as a holy array master. If he really was a sacred array master, he would naturally have some confidence in creating a cross-realm array and crossing over. However, he still gave Li Lingtian a few instructions as it was his habit and responsibility as an elder. Ling Tian understands. Li Lingtian nodded respectfully. He knew that Xianyuan Tianming was concerned about them or else he would not have reminded him like that. You guys can go back. You're not used to this place. Are you going to bring them all? Xianyuan Tianming waved his hand to signal Li Lingtian to leave. A young man like Li Lingtian was not used to such an occasion. In the end, his gaze fell on Tang Qingyue and the other women. He looked at Li Lingtian with a questioning gaze. Yes. Ling Tian will take his leave first. Li Lingtian nodded in reply before he led Tang Qingyue and the others out of the hall. However, Xianyuan Tianming instructed Li Lingtian to bring Xianyuan Yingying along before they left. Naturally, Li Lingtian could not refuse. Furthermore, he had been satisfied with Xianyuan Yingying over the past few days. Having such a beautiful woman by his side was indeed a kind and pleasing thing. The group of beautiful women were talking happily as they surrounded Li Lingtian. Back at the Divine Moon Palace, Li Lingtian began to make plans. Since he was going to the Mystic Continent, he had to make some arrangements first. Back when he was in Green Continent, he had come to Green Continent by accident. However, this time, he was prepared to go to Black Continent, so it was naturally easier. However, in a powerful place like the Black Continent, it was natural to think of a way to survive. He could no longer be as high-profile as he was now and attract everyone's attention. In the Azure Continent and the Azure Continent, no matter how high-profile he would not have any powerful enemies. However, it was different in the Black Continent. Naturally, Tang Qingyue and the rest were focused on their cultivation. They cultivated during the day and accompanied Li Lingtian at night. From time to time, she would follow Li Lingtian to Sky River Holy City to shop for daily necessities, clothes, and items for the wilderness. When Li Lingtian heard about Xianzhou, he had already made up his mind. He had already made some plans on how to develop in the Xian continent. However, he had not expected that the Xian continent would be a place of great change for him. It was also a turning point that would decide the fate of the divine martial continent. As the days passed, Li Lingtian's cultivation base had also reached the peak perfection of level 3. Tang Qingyue and the others' cultivation levels also increased rapidly. As time passed, they were all filled with anticipation as they waited to go to Xianzhou. On this day, Xianyuan Tianming's message finally arrived. The core of the array in the Xian continent's Qing Xian country had been activated, but it was in the depths of the sea, so no one knew about it. Li Lingtian was relieved when he received the news. As long as the array core existed, he would have a way to cross over. After receiving the news, Li Lingtian bid farewell to his parents before leaving Tianhe's sacred city with Tang Qingyue and the others. Li Lingtian brought Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the other two along with him as well as Longda. Needless to say, Wangfu Yuyan and the rest had left with Li Lingtian while the rest of their relatives remained in Tianhe's sacred city. Voila, it feels so good to be out. At the edge of the Heavenly River Holy City, Xianyuan Yingying came out of the divine dragon ring and waved her little hands. She looked very cute and happy. Li Lingtian looked at Xianyuan Yingying with a faint smile on his face. This little girl was always so happy, but that was only after they had gotten to know each other. After leaving the Heavenly River Temple, Li Lingtian disguised himself to hide his aura and flew quickly to the edge of the sea. He only called Tang Qingyue and the others out when he arrived at this remote place. Yingying, you look so happy every time I come out. Could it be because of someone? Huangfu Yuyan smiled sweetly as she looked at Xianyuan Yingying with an ambiguous gaze. Naturally, they knew about Li Lingtian and Xianyuan Yingying. There was no secret between them and Li Lingtian. They also liked Xianyuan Yingying very much. Now was a good time to tease her. Yeah, I followed Big Brother Lingtian out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come out. Grandpa said that the outside world is too dangerous. Besides, with Sister Yuyan around, Yingying won't be bored anymore. Xianyuan Yingying was stunned for a moment, and her face immediately turned red. However, she soon realized that Huangfu Yuyan and the others were teasing her, so she immediately calmed down and said it directly. There was nothing to be shy about. She had always clung to Li Lingtian. If it were not for him, she would not have come out. This was her personality. She would not hide anything and would say whatever she wanted. She was very similar to Tang Zimeng and the others. They had been together with Huangfu Yuyan and the rest for a long time and they had become very close. It was common for them to joke around. Apart from the fact that Huangfu Yuyan and the rest were together with Li Lingtian, they basically shared everything else. However, when Xianyuan Yingying was curious, Huangfu Yuyan didn't mind mentioning it, causing Xianyuan Yingying's face to turn red. A young girl of 18 or 19 years of age was in the prime of her youth. Naturally, she was curious and afraid of such things. Let's go. Let's get on the spaceship first so that we won't be noticed by others. Li Lingtian watched as the girls huddled together and chattered non-stop. He walked up to them with a faint smile on his face. He extended his arms to hug Tang Qingyue and Huangfu Yuyan as he shouted at the girls. After saying that, he flew towards the flying ship in the sky. Longda had already summoned the flying ship and was waiting in the air. This time, there were only him and Marshal Saint Ming Luo. On the other hand, Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the other two were cultivating with the tier 5 and 6 peerless pills that Li Lingtian gave them. For a martial saint, a tier 5 or 6 pill would not be of much use. However, the pill refined by Li Lingtian was no exception. A peerless grade medicinal pill refined from precious materials, its power was absolutely even more powerful than an ordinary 7th grade medicinal pill. Naturally, cultivating with such a pill would be extremely powerful. Moreover, Li Lingtian would give them a level 7 pill every month to cultivate. This way, their cultivation base could be improved rapidly. Martial Saint Ming Luo and the Heavenly Demon King had reached the second firmament of the Martial Saint realm, while Martial Saint Yunhao had reached the peak first firmament of the Martial Saint realm. The three of them were delighted to submit. Not only was Li Lingtian's cultivation base heaven-defying, but his innate skills were also heaven-defying. With the four of them as guards, there was naturally no need to worry about any trouble. However, Martial Saint Ming Luo and the other two had suppressed their cultivation to the first heaven of the Martial Emperor realm. Even so, they were still impressive existences. After all, this was a martial emperor, not a martial arts grandmaster or martial emperor. Long De was still at the peak of Tier 7, Level 5, and was not far from breaking through. With Li Lingtian's cultivation base, no one would be able to discern his cultivation base as long as he did not make a move. In this way, the identity of Commander Long was even more obvious. As for Huangfu Yuyan and the others, it was normal for them to be martial emperors. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of air being torn apart rang out, and all the girls flew onto the spaceship. Although this spaceship wasn't as powerful as the war god, it was still very powerful. It had 2 floors. Li Lingtian and the rest stayed on the top floor while Martial Saint Ming Luo and the other 3 stayed below. Li Lingtian began to arrange the 4 guards after they arrived on the spaceship. During this period of time, Ming Luo and Yunhao will be responsible for safety. Long De, Tian Yao, you two enter the Divine Dragon Ring to cultivate. Try to improve your cultivation before you leave. Let's go to the Azure Continent's Lingyun City first. After Li Lingtian brought Huangfu Yuyan and the others to the second floor, he went down alone and began to make arrangements for the next step. Although he did not need to care about these things, Long Da's cultivation had already reached the peak. Naturally, he had to make a breakthrough. Moreover, Martial Saint Yunhao was more familiar with the Azure Continent and there weren't many dangers. Chapter 561, Returning to Spirituality City, 1, This subordinate will obey. Martial Saint Ming Luo was not displeased by the way Li Lingtian addressed him. On the contrary, she was delighted. He now understood that even if he was a martial saint, it would only take Li Lingtian a blink of an eye to wipe him out. These are the 4 Tier 7 Heavenly Yao pills that I refined the day before yesterday. They should be able to increase your cultivation. Li Lingtian tossed the 2 jade bottles to Long De and the Heavenly Demon King. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he activated the Divine Dragon Ring and the 2 of them vanished before re-entering the Divine Dragon Ring. Apart from the mysterious dragon chi of the 3,000 worlds, the Divine Dragon Ring was extremely large. Martial Saint Ming Luo and Martial Saint Yunhao were unmoved when they saw the Tier 7 pills that Li Lingtian gave Long De and Heavenly Demon King. They knew that Li Lingtian would not give them less than they deserved. With a super alchemy saint by their side, even if they did not want to raise their cultivation, it was not up to them. After following Li Lingtian, they had learned something that a warrior would never know. Pills could improve one's cultivation but could also kill a warrior. No martial artist could know the time when a martial artist used medicinal pills, as well as the matters that needed to be taken note of when using medicinal pills. After Li Lingtian told them, they understood. Pills had to be used at critical places and times. Otherwise, not only would they not be able to increase cultivation, but they would also be harmful to a martial artist's future cultivation. After Li Lingtian returned to the second floor, he laid down on the deck chair outside the spaceship and watched Huangfu Yuyan and the others chat. The 11 girls were chattering away, and they looked extremely happy. The happiest ones were Little White, Xianyuan Yingying, and Ge. The three of them spent the most time together. Together with Xiao Xiao and the others, they had a great time. At that moment, Shun Mei came to Li Lingtian's side and brought a small stool over to sit beside him. She leaned against Li Lingtian's body, and the lazy look on her face caused Li Lingtian to be in a trance. Her delicate figure was faintly discernible under the veil. Her snow-white, smooth skin had a youthful glow, and a faint scent wafted into Li Lingtian's nose. 1/3 of her proud and firm chest was exposed, causing Li Lingtian's eyes to widen. Naturally, Shun Mei knew the look in Li Lingtian's eyes. Not only did she not feel shy when he looked at her like that, she was even happy and proud. After all, everything belonged to Li Lingtian, so she was not afraid of him looking at her. The more Li Lingtian behaved like this, the more it showed that Li Lingtian liked her charm. "Husband, shall we return to the Queen's palace for a few days?" Shun Mei looked at Li Lingtian with her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were filled with lust and charm, giving off a peerless charm. No matter the occasion, Shun Mei always had a charm that Li Lingtian was intoxicated with. This charm did not need to be deliberately put on, as it would appear naturally. Shun Mei did not know why, but perhaps it was due to the body of charm. "Of course, we're going to Spirituality City this time. Did you miss Her Highness the Queen?" Li Lingtian reached out and placed his palm on Shun Mei's back. He gently stroked her back and looked at her tenderly. This was his first woman, and he had a special feeling about her. Although it wasn't his first love, it was still his first time with Shun Mei. "Yes, I do." Shun Mei's face lit up with joy as she gave a soft before gently leaning her head on Li Lingtian's chest. In front of her man, there was nothing to hide. As the other girls watched Li Lingtian and Shun Mei together, they naturally did not disturb them. They understood that even though Li Lingtian was by their side every day, he rarely wanted to be alone with them. Naturally, they had to leave such opportunities to Shun Mei and Li Lingtian. Besides, warriors had more time to cultivate. If there were only 1 or 2 girls by Li Lingtian's side, he was destined to be lonely. Now that Li Lingtian had 5 wives, he had someone to keep him company at all times. Xianyuan Yingying and Little Bai, Ge, and the others could also chat with Li Lingtian. The flying ship flew quickly above the sea. With 2 martial saints guarding it, even if it encountered a hurricane, they could deal with it. Martial saints did not care about things that a martial supreme could not resolve. Moreover, a martial saint powerhouse was very sensitive to the world. If there was any real danger, they would naturally warn Li Lingtian in advance. "Sister Yuyan, you guys continue. I'm going back to rest. I'm feeling a little tired." Huangfu Yuyan and the others chatted for a long time before Xianyuan Yingying stood up and went back to rest. On the spaceship, there was nothing else to do. Only a few girls gathered together to chat or cultivate. "It's getting late. Let's go back and rest." Li Lingtian looked at the sky. The sky was gradually darkening. Above the sea breeze at night was fierce. If he was not careful, he would be eroded by the sea breeze. Although he wouldn't fall sick, he still felt uncomfortable after the sea breeze eroded him. Moreover, the sea breeze at night was very strong. The girls were all wearing light muslin and could not catch a cold. "Yes." Shun Mei nodded obediently before leaving Li Lingtian's chest. She stood up and held Li Lingtian's hand. The other girls returned to their rooms to cultivate. Huangfu Yuyan came to Li Lingtian's side and held his arm with Shun Mei. The 3 of them returned to the room in the spaceship, and the 2 women began to tidy up the room. With a wave of his hand, Li Lingtian cast a restriction around the room to prevent Little White and Xianyuan Yingying from barging in. After she was done, Huangfu Yuyan's jade-like hands moved around Li Lingtian's body. She removed his clothes and placed them neatly on the cabinet at the side. Li Lingtian took the opportunity to lie down on the spacious bed. Shun Mei and Huangfu Yuyan removed their veils, leaving only a tube top and a pair of tights on their bodies. Their perfect bodies were revealed to Li Lingtian. The two ladies lay on Li Lingtian's left and right, their bodies clinging tightly to him. The three of them did not do anything. Although they liked Li Lingtian, they did not indulge in lust. They were satisfied as long as they were in Li Lingtian's arms. Moreover, it was not safe in the sea. If they encountered a hurricane or danger, their vigilance would be lowered. Soon, the three of them fell asleep. The sea was vast and boundless. The flying ship flew for a full 20 days before leaving the sea and arriving at the edge of East River City. They did not stay in East River City. Li Lingtian still had feelings for the place he used to live in, but he could not stay there anymore. When they reached the shore, the flying ship did not stop and continued to fly in the direction of Spirituality City. However, Li Lingtian stopped his spaceship after coming to the Azure continent. After all, he had been on the spaceship for a long time and was still not used to it. After living in a city for a month, they finally began their long flight. In 4 months, Spirituality City was in sight. Finally, the flying ship landed 100 miles away from Spirituality City. "I'm finally back." Shun Mei was overjoyed as she planted a kiss on Li Lingtian's cheek with her rosy lips. Even if she was a girl who had to get married and was now with her beloved, she was still excited to return to her mother's house. "Is this Sister Mei's home?" Xianyuan Yingying knew that Shun Mei was from Spirit City, but she didn't know who it was, so she thought that she hadn't arrived there yet. "Yes, this is Spirituality City," Shun Mei said happily, her face glowing with excitement. This kind of excitement was a kind of nostalgia. "Then let's hurry up and leave. Sister Mei is already at the Queen's palace," Huangfu Yuyan said with a smile. She was from the Divine Continent and was currently hundreds of millions of miles away from the Divine Continent. Naturally, she wouldn't be able to return to the Divine Continent for the time being. However, when Li Lingtian became stronger, he would naturally go to the Divine Continent. By then, his family would also become stronger because of Li Lingtian's strength. "It must be like this. I used to be like this too." "Oh right, Sister Mei, do you feel afraid of being close to your hometown?" Tang Qinyue's face cracked into a smile. It was a smile that only appeared in front of her sisters and Li Lingtian. No one else had ever seen her smile before. "Of course, I haven't been back for a long time." Shun Mei and Tang Qinyue held hands as she spoke in a coquettish voice. These sisters were even closer than best friends. There was no privacy between them because they shared a beloved man. "Then let's hurry." Tang Zimeng and Xianyuan Yingying held Li Lingtian's hand and dragged him forward. Li Lingtian looked at Tang Zimeng and Xianyuan Yingying. These two girls would never grow up. They would always be mischievous and lively. However, the group quickly flew towards Spirituality City. Although they didn't use a flying ship, their speed was still very fast. The distance of 100 miles was covered in less than half an hour. Looking at the tall city walls, the Spirit Rhyme City was prosperous. Countless martial artists came in and out. Countless warriors were stunned when they saw Li Lingtian's group. The man was elegant and graceful, and the girls were all peerless. Any one of them was an unparalleled existence in the world, but now there were several of them together, which gave people a visual impact. At that moment, more than 20 patrol members at the city gate stopped Li Lingtian and the others. Although Li Lingtian and the others were not ordinary people, the safety of Spirit Rhyme City was still a must. "Sir, you need a token to enter Spirituality City," a martial arts grandmaster's team leader said politely. After all, a martial arts grandmaster like him could not afford to offend people like Li Lingtian. These people, even those super large families, might not be able to see them. Every one of them was a proud son of heaven. Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian did not have a token, but his name alone was enough. In the Azure continent, even if one did not know his master's name, one would not be unaware of Li Lingtian's reputation. Li Lingtian. Saint Alchemist Ling Tian. So it's young noble Ling Tian. I'm also from the Azure Continent. Young noble Ling Tian, please come in. When the patrol leader heard Li Lingtian's name, he was instantly shocked. Li Lingtian's reputation was so great that it was known to everyone in Green Province and the Azure Continent. His name was like a supreme token. Chapter 562, Welcome, 1, Li Lingtian glanced at the patrol leader and nodded. In the end, he was dragged into the city by Tang Zimeng and Xianyuan Yingying. Li Lingtian had long gotten used to the envious gazes of countless warriors. Tang Qingyue and the others were naturally the same. This was a kind of capital. If he grew ugly, naturally no one would look at him. The group of people walked directly towards the queen's palace, leaving behind countless discussions. So many peerless beauties. Any one of them is a 1 in 10,000 existence. If I had such a wife, even death would be worth it. I think I've seen that man before. Yes, I've seen him before. That's right, he's young noble Ling Tian. Young Master Ling Tian, the one who used the war god to wipe out the House of Storms, right? No wonder there are so many beautiful women following him. Only such an expert is worthy of those beautiful women. Beauties and powerhouses would always be the center of attention. Li Lingtian, Tang Qingyue, and the others were undoubtedly a gathering of powerhouses and beauties. Each of them was a peerless beauty, while Li Lingtian was elegant and graceful with heaven-defying strength. Some of the discussions were completely ignored. Because in this world, no matter how powerful you were, you couldn't control the mouths of others. Soon, the news of Li Lingtian's return to Lingyun City spread like wildfire. Countless Green Province warriors came to greet him. In Lingyun City, tens of thousands of warriors came from Azure Continent and were brought here by Li Lingtian. There were also countless warriors who had escaped to Azure Continent after Li Lingtian helped them fend off the demons. Gradually, countless Azure Continent warriors gathered in Spirit Rime City. The warriors knew that Li Lingtian was heading to the Queen's Palace and were waiting at the main avenue with excitement on their faces. Even though they did not speak to Li Lingtian, they were able to show their gratitude and respect for him. In an instant, the main road leading to the Queen's Palace was filled with countless genius martial artists, but the middle of the road was unobstructed. Young noble Ling Tian. Young noble Ling Tian. Waves of cheers rang out. Even if the martial artists in Lingyun City were not from Green Island, they were still cheering. As Li Lingtian had once resisted the assault of the House of Storms and saved Spirituality City, his status in Spirituality City was equivalent to that of the Queen. The warriors of Green Island were naturally grateful and excited. Immediately, cheers resounded throughout the world. In an instant, Li Lingtian's popularity reached its peak. Xianyuan Yingying and Tang Zimeng were proud of Li Lingtian's popularity. In this place, Li Lingtian was like the ruler of a dynasty. In fact, it was beyond the fear of the ruler of a dynasty. Instead, these warriors respected him from the bottom of their hearts. The girls were also extremely happy, and their little faces were filled with happiness. Li Lingtian nodded with a smile on his face. Although he didn't need to greet these people because of his status, he wasn't someone who would put on airs. If they respected him, he would return the favor. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian and the others arrived before the plaque of the Queen's Palace. When they arrived, countless powerhouses from the Queen's Palace were already waiting in front of the signboard. Even the Queen had come, but this time, the Queen was not Shen Yu, but the new Queen, Li Yingyu. Welcome, young noble Ling Tian, to the Queen's Palace. Junior sister Mei, welcome home. Li Yingyue saluted Li Lingtian. Although she was the Queen's Majesty, she was of the same generation as Li Lingtian and the others. She also knew how powerful Li Lingtian was. Her Majesty, the Queen, was nothing more than a word in front of Li Lingtian. He was also extremely grateful to Li Lingtian and Shun Mei. Then, he greeted Tang Qingyue and the others. He was extremely surprised. He had only seen them from afar before, but now that he saw them up close, he was shocked. There really were such beautiful girls in the world. Previously, he thought that Shun Mei was the most beautiful and charming girl in the divine martial continent. However, he did not expect all the girls around Li Lingtian to be so beautiful. After greeting them, Li Yingyue led Li Lingtian and the others into the queen's palace. Shun Yu and Shun Tianzhou had already abdicated and were living a life they had never enjoyed before. After chatting for an hour in the main hall, Li Yingyue finally instructed someone to bring Li Lingtian and the others to rest. Naturally, Shun Mei had been staying here all this while. The place where they rested was also where she lived. After settling down, Li Lingtian brought Shun Mei and the others to Shun Yu's place. Lingtian greets your majesty and Uncle Shun. When Li Lingtian saw Shun Tianzhou and Shun Yu, he forgot how to address them. However, after he addressed them, he realized that he should change his address. Mother, father. When Shun Mei saw Shun Yu and Shun Tianzhou, she was overjoyed, and her eyes reddened. She threw herself into Shun Yu's arms. Now that Shun Yu was not a queen, but a mother, she naturally did not have any scruples. Greetings, uncle and auntie. Tang Qingyue and the others also came forward to greet him, looking extremely respectful. Shun Mei's family was also their family. Husband, are you still not going to change your mind? Shun Mei snuggled in Shun Yu's arms as she looked at Li Lingtian with a pout. Lingtian greets mother and father. Li Lingtian did not hesitate to change his tone naturally. He bowed to Shun Yu and Shun Tianzhou once again. Tang Qingyue, Huang Fuyuyan, and the others also bowed and greeted him. In the end, they all sat in the pavilion and chatted happily. Soon, Tang Qingyue and the others got to know Shun Yu better. Shun Yu didn't have the queen's aura like before. Now, he was just an ordinary parent, so they were naturally closer. You guys still call us uncle and aunt? Shun Yu looked at Xianyuan Yingying, Little White, and Ge and said in confusion. Mother, this is my husband's younger sister, Ge, the princess of the fairy clan. This is my husband's sister, Xiao Bai, the dragon clan's Xiao Longnu. This is my husband's sister, Xianyuan Yingying. She is the princess of the Xianyuan clan and the princess of Tianhe Sacred City. Shun Mei and the others laughed, then introduced Ge and the other two. They knew that Shun Yu had mistaken Ge and the other two for Li Lingtian's women. Although Ge and Little White had met Shun Yu before, he didn't know their identities. Now that he heard Shun Mei's introduction, he was extremely shocked. The identities of these three people were all incomparably powerful. None of them could be provoked. He admired Li Lingtian even more. Apart from Shun Mei, he had so many peerless beauties by his side and three powerful sisters. It seemed like the three girls had a close relationship with Li Lingtian. One was the Dragon Clan, one was the Elf Clan, and one was the Xianyuan clan. Which one of them was not an ancient clan? Why did you come back this time? Only Shun Tianzhou and Li Lingtian's men were present at this place. The other women were naturally chatting away. The two of them were naturally chatting at the side. We plan to stay here for a while before leaving for the Black Continent to train. It just so happens that there's an array corps in front of Lingyun City. Ling Tian plans to cross over to the Black Continent. Li Lingtian did not hide anything after hearing Shun Tianzhou's words. He told them about their trip to the Mystic Continent but did not say what they were going there for. Shun Tianzhou was Shun Mei's father, so he naturally had to respect him. Xianzhou. The Black Continent is not the Azure Continent or the Azure Continent. You must be careful when you go there. Shun Tianzhou's expression changed several times as he looked at Li Lingtian seriously. This expression was the same as Xianyuan Tianming's, but Xianyuan Tianming's was because of the matter of crossing over, while Shen Tianzhou's expression changed because of the power of Xianzhou. Ling Tian knows. Li Lingtian nodded. His heart was filled with warmth. He was satisfied with his family's concern for him in the divine martial continent. I'm from the Black Continent. I only know a little about the power of the Black Continent. Oh, right, I brought this token with me when I left the Black Continent. Maybe you can use it in the future. As Shen Tianzhou spoke, he passed a token to Li Lingtian. Rather than calling it a token, it was more like a jade pendant. Moreover, this jade pendant was obviously a girl's item. Li Lingtian was stunned. Was Shen Tianzhou not afraid of Shen Yu finding out that he had a girl's item on him? Shen Tianzhou was not Li Lingtian. She had a few wives. Other men would have higher status the stronger they were. It was normal for them to have 3 or 4 wives. However, it was impossible for Shen Tianzhou because he was the queen's man. Don't worry, your mother won't say anything. This was a personal item of a friend of mine. It was said that this was his daughter's jade pendant. They lost contact. But that friend of mine also died on the way to the Azure Continent. All these years, I've been in the Azure Continent and haven't returned to the Black Continent, so this matter hasn't been resolved. Shen Tianzhou smiled. Although he envied other men having multiple wives, he didn't. Outsiders knew that the queen's husband was a puppet, but only he knew how loving they were. Seeing how worried Li Lingtian was for him, he was extremely satisfied. He was quite fond of this son-in-law of his. If Ling Tian were to encounter her, how would he explain it to her? Li Lingtian looked at the jade pendant. It was obvious that the pendant had a restriction on it. Although he was a holy array master, he would not do such despicable things. Without the owner's permission, he would not open the pendant. You only need to say a few words. Blood-drinking heaven's favorite maniac, heaven's favorite snow-drinking maniac. Shen Tianzhou said lightly, his face serious. Li Lingtian was puzzled when he heard those 2 sentences. It should be said that those 2 sentences were a spell or some kind of code. However, he did not say anything. Some things could only be pretended to be ignorant. In any case, it was not easy to find a person in the vast sea of people in Xianzhou. It would be easy to find an expert or a famous figure, but it would be like finding a needle in a haystack if you were to find an unknown figure. There was still a target to find a needle in a haystack, but finding an unknown target in the vast sea of people was too difficult, even harder than ascending to the heavens. Chapter 563, Crossing Worlds. 1. The few of them chatted for a long time before Li Lingtian and the others returned to their own quarters. Spirituality City was the Queen Palace's headquarters and one of the 3 super forces in the Azure Continent. However, the strongest of the 3 superpowers, House of Storms, had been wiped out by Li Lingtian, leaving only the Queen's Palace and the Windy Moon Palace. The Wind Moon Palace's Wind Spirit Prince was Li Lingtian's brother. Naturally, the Wind Moon Palace would not oppose the Queen's Palace. More importantly, Li Lingtian was standing in the Queen's Palace. As long as Li Lingtian was around, no one in the Azure Continent would dare to provoke the Queen's Palace. Shun Mei was from this place, so she was very familiar with the city. Naturally, she brought Tang Qingyue and the others to play while Li Lingtian was studying the transboundary formation thousands of miles away from Spirituality City. Originally, with his array Dao techniques, the world-crossing Grand Array was very easy. Moreover, he had used the cross-realm formation before. After his cultivation reached the martial monarch realm, his array Dao skills had also improved. It should be said that cross-realm was even easier. However, he did not dare to be careless. This time, he was going to the Xian continent hundreds of millions of miles away. Not only was it far away, but there was also a heaven-locking array on the other side. It was a heaven-locking array cast by an ancient mighty figure. If he was not careful, he would experience space-time disorder halfway through the world crossing. At that time, he would not even know how he died. Therefore, Li Lingtian had Tang Qingyue and the others tag along with Shun Mei, while Long De was in charge of protecting her. Long De and the Heavenly Demon King had been focused in the Divine Dragon Ring for half a year. Due to Long Da's dragon energy and the 7th grade Heavenly Demon Pill, his cultivation had reached level 7. The Heavenly Demon King had also raised his cultivation to the peak of the 2nd firmament of the Martial Saint Realm. He was only a step away from the 3rd firmament of the Martial Saint Realm. However, it was not that simple to enter the 3rd heaven. But even so, it was beyond his imagination. According to the cultivation speed of the monster race, it would take him 50 years to reach the peak of the 2nd sky of the Martial Saint Realm from the peak of the 1st sky of the Martial Saint Realm. Usually, he wouldn't be able to make a breakthrough in his entire life. She did not expect to achieve a breakthrough after following Li Lingtian for less than a year. Their cultivation base had improved, and their abilities had also soared. Now, one of them was protecting Li Lingtian while the other was protecting Tang Qingyue and the others. As for Martial Saint Yunhao and Martial Saint Ming Luo, they were also cultivating peacefully. Li Lingtian looked at the center of the array before him and cast the divine array diagram. He quickly cast countless array formations within 100 miles to secure the area. After everything was done, the Heavenly Demon King stood guard outside while Li Lingtian entered the array formation alone. He began to study the world crossing formation. This time, he had to set up the world crossing formation. Not only did he have to do a lot of things here, but he also had to understand the landing point on the other side. Just like that, after half a month, Li Lingtian was finally relieved. Then, he walked out of the array formation and got the Queen's Palace to send experts to guard this place. The Heaven Demon Monarch was also hiding here. Li Lingtian was worried that someone would destroy the array core, but he was prepared for this. With his array Dao, even martial emperors and martial saints could not easily destroy the array he had cast. After leaving the array, Li Lingtian returned to the Queen's Palace to rest. He had not been with his wife for half a month, so he had to spend some time with her. After Tang Zimeng accompanied Li Lingtian to take a bath, she returned to her room. Li Lingtian's heart burned with excitement as he watched Tang Qingyue meditate on the bed. Although he was with a few girls, and there were 2 girls accompanying him every day. However, this was the first time the 2 sisters had been together. The thought of having the 2 sisters serve him alone made him excited. When the 2 of them returned, Tang Qingyue had also stopped cultivating. Tang Qingyue's face turned red for no reason when she saw Li Lingtian's expression. If she were to serve Li Lingtian with the other sisters, she would be more relaxed. Even if she was shy, she could still accept it. However, she was excited to serve Li Lingtian with her own sister. However, Tang Qingyue still got off the bed and walked to Li Lingtian's side. The 2 sisters took off Li Lingtian's clothes and their own gauze. The 3 of them lay on the bed, their hearts racing. This feeling was extremely exciting. After all, the 2 sisters were serving the same man. Li Lingtian could not help but feel his heart pounding. His hands wandered between the sisters' hands. They were already feeling extremely excited, but after being touched by Li Lingtian, the sisters could not hold it in any longer. She moaned as her delicate body caressed Li Lingtian's. Even before Li Lingtian had started, the sisters could not take the stimulation. That night, as Li Lingtian and the 2 sisters made love with Tang Qingyue, Tang Zimeng watched curiously and was extremely excited. While Li Lingtian and Tang Zimeng were making love, Tang Qingyue watched curiously. It was Li Lingtian's first time realizing that the 2 sisters were telepathic. Furthermore, it was a reaction in this aspect. When Li Lingtian and Tang Qingyue were making love, Tang Zimeng felt as if she was being cultivated by Li Lingtian. Tang Qingyue reached the clouds, and Tang Zimeng also reached the clouds. The 2 sisters did the same. When they were having sex with Tang Zimeng, the 2 sisters moaned the same way. The three of them were extremely excited when they discovered this feeling. It was even more comfortable and exciting than usual. They only stopped when the three of them fell asleep in satisfaction. In the following period, the sisters served Li Lingtian for a few nights but not every day. They understood that a married couple must exercise restraint. Even if it was love, there had to be a limit. The more wonderful the thing, the more restrained it was, because this way, it could retain the excitement in the future. Just like before, it was still Shun Mei, and Tang Zimeng, Tang Qingyue and Huang Fu Yuyan, and sometimes Qingling. Time passed day by day. It had been 2 months since Li Lingtian and the others arrived at Spirituality City. It was also time to leave. After all, martial artists had to constantly strengthen themselves in their lives. It was imperative to go to the Black Continent for experience. On this day, Li Lingtian called Shun Mei, and the others into the Divine Dragon Ring before he went into the Array Core alone. His body flashed continuously as he unleashed the 12 Supreme Spiritual Stones. The 12 Supreme Spiritual Stones formed a formation, and with the addition of the Array Core, Li Lingtian was able to reduce his consumption. The Divine Array appeared in front of Li Lingtian. With a flick of his fingers, he cast a series of magic arts. The magic arts struck the Divine Array and it emitted a golden glow. Thunder and lightning bolts continuously sounded between heaven and earth. Boom! Boom! Hoo! Hoo! A shocking thunder exploded and a sharp wind sounded. The entire Spirituality City could feel the changes in the sky, as if it was the end of the world. At this moment, countless arcs of lightning appeared in the sky. The endless arcs of lightning transformed into meteors that continuously shuttled through the sky. Furthermore, fiery red clouds appeared in the sky. The fiery red clouds dyed the sky red, and the entire world turned fiery red. Countless warriors in the city looked at the changes in the sky and found that the place where the changes happened was thousands of miles away from the city. This change was caused by the strong. Countless warriors were flying out of Spirituality City. When they arrived 100 miles away from the Array Core, they looked at Li Lingtian, who was hovering in the air with admiration and envy. As this shocking phenomenon was unleashed by young Master Lingtian, Li Lingtian hovered in the air as a golden array diagram shone with a golden radiance. He was also like a god of war floating in the air, giving people the feeling that he was the ruler of the world. Li Lingtian continued to cast his magic arts, causing the world to rumble incessantly. The 12 Supreme Grade Spirit Stones also emitted a shocking Spirit Chi light pillar. In an instant, 100 miles around Li Lingtian became a world of light. World Crossing Formation. Young Noble Lingtian is using the World Crossing Grand Formation. Young Noble Lingtian wants to cross worlds. Could it be that he's going to a very distant place? Only an expert like young Noble Lingtian can cross over. So this is the World Crossing Formation. This is the first time I've seen it. It's so magical and powerful. In an instant, many powerhouses saw Li Lingtian's transboundary formation and were filled with admiration and admiration. A powerhouse who could cross worlds was a true powerhouse. Li Lingtian turned a deaf ear to the discussions outside. He stared at the void with a sharp gaze as he continued to cast the magic art in his hands. After a quarter of an hour, Li Lingtian finally stopped his incantation gesture and the colorful light shield in the sky stabilized. Li Lingtian spoke in a secret voice and a tall and mighty powerhouse flew up to Li Lingtian's side. "You go in," Li Lingtian said indifferently. He did not make any movements as the tall powerhouse beside him vanished into thin air. Rumble. Walala. Explosions continued in the air, and thunder and lightning descended endlessly. 100 miles away from the light shield, there was a sea of people. Countless warriors looked at Li Lingtian with admiration and respect. Li Lingtian looked at the light shield in the sky and activated his divine consciousness. He channeled all his true essence and a silk banner appeared in his hand. The spatial banner was a decent saint artifact. Although it didn't have any offensive or defensive properties, it was still a good support-type treasure. At this time, using the spatial banner was just the right time to display its true use. He looked at the void and waved his hand. A 100-meter wide grid appeared in the void, and the red grid quickly changed. Gradually, the grid expanded to a radius of 1,000 meters. In the grid, a gray hole appeared. The appearance of this hole caused the world to change color. It had a negative impact on countless martial artists, and their hearts began to tremble. However, Li Lingtian did not hesitate at all. He channeled his vital essence and unleashed the true dragon body barrier. He even activated the limitless feather coat he wore underneath. With a flash, he turned into a stream of light and flew toward the gray hole. His figure was instantly swallowed by the void. The world became even more violent, as if the entire world was about to be destroyed. After Li Lingtian disappeared, the light shield vanished as well. A massive destruction occurred within 100 miles of the light shield as countless warriors retreated hastily. After a full 2 minutes, the world finally quieted down and everything returned to normal. In the Queen's palace, Shen Yu, Shen Tianzhou, and Queen Li Yingyue were looking at the void with a worried expression. However, they were more happy than happy as they prayed for Li Lingtian. Chapter 564, Young Girl, 1, The Azure Continent, Spirituality City, was in an uproar. The entire Spirit Resonance City was in an uproar because young noble Ling Tian had crossed over. Even though he didn't know where young noble Ling Tian was going, he knew that a powerhouse who could cross worlds was a heaven-defying existence. Furthermore, young noble Ling Tian was a legend and a miracle. He became a saint alchemist at the age of 19, the first saint alchemist in the Azure Continent. He wiped out the House of Storms by himself, shocked the Azure Continent, and returned to the Azure Continent to fight the demons. At the age of 22, he had become a heaven-defying expert at the 3rd level of the Martial Emperor realm and refined a peerless great rejuvenation pill. He fought against a martial saint and escaped from the hands of the 9 demon venerables. Naturally, they did not know that Li Lingtian had killed the 9 demon venerables and the 7 demon venerables. Otherwise, their jaws would have dropped in shock. There were also countless shocking things that these martial artists could not know. He was an earth-shattering existence in everything he did, and now he had crossed over. Almost everyone in the Azure Continent knew about this. This was young noble Ling Tian. All of a sudden, the deeds of Li Lingtian's 8 generations of ancestors were dug up. From his birth to his rise to his current heaven-defying achievements, Li Lingtian had become a miracle in the Azure Continent and even the Serenity Plains. However, Li Lingtian, who was surrounded by the powerful halo, was about to cry to death. The moment he entered the space-time tunnel, he felt the destructive devouring power. This power was something he had never encountered before. Even if he circulated his true essence and the true dragon body protection, he could not resist this power. He was shocked. The last time he crossed the border from the House of Storms to the Lingyun city, it was very easy and he didn't encounter any danger. However, this time, he encountered an irresistible destructive force. Chi. Threads, threads. In the dusky passageway, Li Lingtian unleashed all sorts of treasures and powerful techniques, but they were not able to withstand his attacks at all. The heaven and earth creation cauldron was still useless. Heavenly demon region. Space pennant. True dragon body protection, giant dragon power. The will of the earth. Li Lingtian's expression changed drastically. He had used all the treasures and divine powers he could. However, the destructive power was still destroying him, and he did not know when it would end. The true essence in his body was also rapidly flowing away. What made him feel despair was that his cultivation continued to fall. The only thing he could do now was to hold his spirit. The peak of the 3rd heaven of the Martial Emperor realm, 3rd heaven of the Martial Emperor realm. Peak 2nd heaven Martial Emperor realm, 1st heaven. The martial emperor realm had fallen. The 9th level of the supreme realm, the 8th level, the 7th level, the 6th level. Li Lingtian's eyes were filled with despair. He was most worried about his death. After his death, Tang Qingyue and the rest would perish in the divine dragon ring forever. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian's eyes and consciousness began to fade as his mind turned dark. Finally, he fainted. Xianzhou. The divine martial continent was the most magical continent. It was so vast that no one knew how big it was. Moreover, the Black Continent was a world of countries. There were endless countries here, and the entire Black Continent was controlled by countless countries. The boundless sea was just like its name. It was a boundless sea, describing the vastness of the sea. It was this sea region that nurtured billions of experts. In the depths of the sea, there were powerful sea beasts. The materials and inner cores of these sea beasts were essential cultivation resources for martial artists. Rumble. Rumble. Crash. Princess, leave quickly. An earth-shattering battle was taking place at the edge of an island in the sea. A middle-aged woman wielded a red caltrop in her hand. The red caltrop emitted a terrifying aura, and the space trembled. Seawater soared into the sky. The woman was obviously a third-level martial emperor, but her opponent was a terrifying sea beast. The sea beast was extremely huge, and its lantern-sized eyes were emitting a cold aura. It was a Tier 5, Level 4 sea dragon beast. A Level 5, Level 4 sea beast was equivalent to a Level 4 martial emperor. Moreover, the geographical position of the sea beast was much stronger than that of a martial artist of the same level. Moreover, the woman in front of him was only a Level 3 martial emperor. Among the warriors, women were much weaker than men. Facing a Level 4 sea beast, the woman's face showed fear. Moreover, they were heavily injured and looked extremely miserable. There were more than 10 martial arts grandmaster corpses floating in the sea. They were obviously killed by sea beasts. The woman retreated as she fought, shouting at the girl on the flying sword with an anxious expression. Aunt Yun, hurry up. Let's escape together. Come up quickly. The young girl's face was filled with panic, but she did not escape alone. Instead, she called the middle-aged woman to leave together. It was already very rare to see a girl with such a temperament in this world. Hurry up and leave. Pfft. The middle-aged woman's eyes flashed with gratitude when she saw that the young woman was not leaving. In her moment of distraction, the sea dragon beast's shocking water pillar struck the middle-aged woman, causing her to spit out a mouthful of blood. Its body was also on the verge of collapsing. When the sea dragon beast saw that its opponent was injured, it immediately attacked even more intensely. Ah! With a scream, the third-level martial emperor woman was also killed by the sea dragon beast. The middle-aged woman lost her life in an instant. When the young girl saw that Aunt Yun had also been killed, her small face turned pale. Her small mouth also trembled, and her face was filled with helplessness. Completely forgetting that the sea dragon beast was already pouncing over, the Level 5, Level 4 sea dragon beast unleashed its bestial nature and shot up, attacking the girl. The girl was only a rank 1 martial king. She could not even move her fingers in front of the sea dragon beast's pressure. She watched helplessly as the sea dragon beast pounced towards her, and she was already scared silly. She could clearly feel the foul smell of the sea dragon coming at her, and its huge bloody mouth was biting towards her. We're done for. The young girl muttered in her heart. She had already accepted the outcome of death. At this moment, a muffled sound was heard. Bang! Plop! A burst of energy shot out in the air, followed by a plop, stirring up thousands of water pillars. Endless water pillars and icy cold seawater woke the girl up. The girl tried to open her eyes and found that she was still floating above the flying sword, but the flying sword was already swaying. Moreover, that terrifying sea dragon beast was floating on the surface of the sea. Its head had been smashed into pieces, and it couldn't be any more dead. Seeing this, the young girl's face revealed a look of horror. Even his martial royal realm guards were easily killed. More than a dozen martial arts grandmaster guards were also killed. However, this terrifying sea dragon beast was easily killed by someone. He looked around in shock, but he did not find any experts in the air. The more it was like this, the more afraid the girl was. To be able to kill a level 4 tier 5 sea dragon beast, it must be a tier 5 or 6 martial emperor. If there was a super expert, she would be finished. However, a white-robed young man appeared in his line of sight. However, this young man was floating above the sea. The girl looked around and saw no one else. She thought to herself, could it be that he killed the sea dragon beast and injured himself? After thinking for a moment, the young girl used her divine sense and shot the flying sword toward the water surface. She tried to grab it with one hand, but the young man didn't react at all. With this kind of probing, the young girl knew that this young man was injured and unconscious because the aura on his body was faintly discernible and was almost dissipating. Without any hesitation, she summoned a colorful caltrip and wrapped it around the young man. After entangling the young man, he exerted force with one hand, and the young man had already left the water. His entire body was drenched. The girl looked at the middle-aged woman's corpse. The woman's corpse had already been bitten into 2 halves by the sea dragon beast. She hesitated for a moment before waving a hand and burning the woman's corpse. After doing everything, the young girl had a sad expression on her face. She grabbed the young man and rode the flying sword towards the island not far away. Arriving on the island, the young girl quickly found a hidden cave and placed the young man in a dry place to size him up. The young man's face was pale and powerless, but it could not hide his delicate and handsome appearance. What should we do? I can't leave him alone. If not for him, I would have died long ago. But why is his injury so serious? Without a tier 4 or 5 healing pill, it's impossible to wake him up. The young girl spun around anxiously, her face incomparably anxious. Because the aura of the young man who saved her was getting weaker and weaker. If this continued, this young man would definitely die. He was able to defeat the type 5 sea dragon beast because his strength isn't simple. I wonder if he has any pills on him. The young girl's mind spun rapidly as she looked at the young man on the ground. He carefully walked toward the young man, preparing to search for medicinal pills on the young man. However, the moment her jade-like hand touched the storage pouch on the young man's waist, the young man's body moved. Yes. The young man nodded softly and opened his eyes weakly. You woke up, you woke up. The young man suddenly opened his eyes. The young girl was frightened and quickly retreated. However, she realized that the young man did not move at all. It was obvious that he did not have any strength. She was relieved. He stuttered as he asked the young man. After asking, he felt that what he asked was nonsense. Thank you for saving me. Li Lingtian felt guilty and curious when he saw the girl's trembling face. He did not expect such a timid girl to exist. Indeed, this white-robed young man was Li Lingtian who had crossed over. He didn't know what had happened, but he felt that he was still alive. Moreover, he didn't have any strength in his body, let alone any cultivation. No need to thank me. If you hadn't killed the sea dragon beast in the end, I would have died too. If you want to thank me, I should be the one saying it. The young girl gradually relaxed. This young man had saved her first, and now he was thanking her. She was satisfied with the manners of this young man. At least a warrior with such conduct would not be a big evil person. I saved you. What is this place? Li Lingtian was stunned. He had no idea what was going on. He couldn't even protect himself, so when would he save this girl? However, with his experience and wisdom, he naturally reacted quickly and covered up his words. Something must have happened between them that he didn't know about. He was curious, and more importantly, he wanted to know what this place was. Although the world-crossing formation rarely made mistakes, there were times when space-time would be distorted and the place would be shifted to the opposite direction. Chapter 565, Qingxian Country, Nandu County, Young Master, this is the Boundless Sea, it belongs to the Nandu County of Qingxian. Your memory must have been damaged. Just now, my guard was killed and I was almost killed by the sea dragon beast. However, a strange attack killed the sea dragon beast. I don't know how it was killed. When the young lady saw that Li Lingtian did not remember that she had saved her, she immediately felt guilty. Hence, she told him everything that had happened. After explaining what had just happened, he continued. Thought it was a super expert who attacked, but I didn't find anyone else. I saw you floating on the sea, and you were right where the sea dragon beast was. Its head was shattered. I see. I don't remember. It must be because of my injuries. Li Lingtian was relieved. At least this place was Qingxian. He would be satisfied even if he was in Xianzhou, let alone Qingxian. According to the girl's description, the sea dragon beast was either too unlucky or the girl had escaped death. At the critical moment, she had just come out of the space-time tunnel. As for the attack that killed the sea dragon beast, it was not difficult to understand. It was likely that the destructive force from the inter-realm formation had struck the sea dragon beast and saved the young lady. The young lady was so shocked that she did not know if it was Li Lingtian who had done it. After he finished speaking, his body was extremely weak. Fortunately, his divine sense still existed. It was a trace of divine sense that could be completely ignored in the past. However, this trace of divine sense was a life-saving straw. His clothes were drenched and he felt extremely uncomfortable. Moreover, all the meridians in his body were broken, and his dantian was extremely empty. He felt as if he was in the 18th level of hell. Even though he had gone through countless painful tempering, he almost couldn't hold on anymore. Miss, can you help me find someone? My friend came with me. He should be nearby. Li Lingtian quickly thought of a way to send the girl away. Otherwise, Tang Qingyue and the others would be finished once his divine consciousness completely dissipated. Alright, wait here. I'll go out and look for it. By the way, I'm Chu Meng, the princess of the Nandu County's king. Chu Meng did not know what to do when she saw Li Lingtian's expression. She heard that Li Lingtian had a friend with him. If she could get his friend here, he would be saved. Moreover, it was really inconvenient for a young girl like her to follow a young man. With that, he walked out of the cave and introduced himself at the entrance. Soon, the young lady left the cave. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness was extremely weak and it was dissipating. He didn't care if the girl had gone far or not. Suddenly, a destructive pain came from his sea of consciousness. If it wasn't for the fact that he had tempered his body with dragon energy and achieved the heavenly sword physique and the sacred sun physique, such pain would have killed him directly. He activated his divine sense and activated the divine dragon ring. Longde and Xiaobai appeared in front of Li Lingtian, but it was too late for the others to come out. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness dissipated and the divine dragon ring was shut off. Li Lingtian almost passed away. He was relieved to see Longde and Xiaobai's appearance and his eyes were filled with relief. Brother, what's wrong? Young master, how did this happen? When Xiaobai and Longde came out and saw Li Lingtian's appearance, they were shocked. With Li Lingtian's strength, he would not be in such a miserable state even if he encountered a martial saint powerhouse. Could it be that he had encountered a super martial saint? However, there was no time to think about it at that moment. He quickly walked forward to check on Li Lingtian's injuries. It would have been fine if he hadn't checked, but after the check, Longda's face turned pale and he looked extremely ugly. Due to Li Lingtian's broken meridians and the loss of his cultivation base, he was now an ordinary person without any cultivation base. How could he accept such a thing? After all, Li Lingtian was a heaven-defying powerhouse. Without his cultivation base, what was the use of him? There might be a problem with the cross-world array. There's a destructive power in the space-time tunnel. I watched as my cultivation rapidly flowed away. Fortunately, I was able to survive when my cultivation was at its peak. Oh right, a girl saved me. I sent her away. Later, tell her that you're my friends and found this place. Don't reveal your identities. Li Lingtian closed his eyes after he finished speaking. The moment he closed his eyes, a secret voice reached Little White's ears. He wanted Little White to keep an eye on him. If he was really in danger, he would take the divine dragon ring away and call Tang Qingyue and the others out. Moreover, he was too tired now. He did not have the slightest strength at all, and his consciousness was also very scattered. Big brother, I'll bring you out of here. When the time comes, I'll let big sister Mei, and the others help you heal your injuries. Longda, hide your cultivation first. When the time comes, find a place to settle down. Brother needs to heal his injuries. At this moment, Little White no longer had a mischievous expression on its face. Instead, it emitted the aura of a superior. The dragon might of the dragon race was even stronger than Xiaolongnu's. In the past, she was just a little girl in front of Li Lingtian and had never encountered any powerful enemies. She had never dealt with a single matter alone, but now that she had encountered a problem, she would step forward. Her identity could definitely represent Li Lingtian because if Li Lingtian fell, she would fall with him. There were no secrets between the two of them, and they could even reach a mutual understanding. Alright. Longda didn't hesitate at all. He quickly hid his cultivation base, leaving only the appearance of a martial emperor. Little White was from the Dragon clan, so no one could see her real cultivation base after she transformed. She only looked like a martial emperor. Although Li Lingtian's cultivation base had vanished, Longda knew that Li Lingtian would not be defeated by such a minor injury. After all, Li Lingtian's identity was too terrifying and he had countless means to quickly recover his cultivation base. All he needed to do was to protect him during this period. Longda had just concealed his cultivation when he saw a young girl rush in with an extremely flustered look. With their cultivation bases, Xiao Bai and Longda had naturally noticed it long ago. They also roughly knew that this young lady was the one who had saved Li Lingtian. Otherwise, why would he let this girl barge in? That would really be a joke. Chu Meng looked at the two people in the cave and was shocked. However, she thought of something and calmed down a little. Are the two of you his friends? Chu Meng was a martial king and the princess of Nandu County. She had seen a lot and was very smart. Yes, thank you for saving my brother. I'm his sister. This is my brother's good friend. Xiao Bai noticed the girl's panic and was probably worried about Li Lingtian's injury. He was rather satisfied since this girl cared about Li Lingtian. How are his injuries? Chu Meng looked at Little White. She looked exactly like Li Lingtian, but the one standing in front of her was a girl. She was a peerless beauty that even the 9 heavenly maiden could not compare to. Naturally, he believed that this girl was the younger sister of the young man on the ground. My brother's injuries are very serious. He needs to find a place to heal. Xiao Bai spoke calmly. It was exactly the same as Li Lingtian, but it was influenced by Li Lingtian. Even though she had never done such things before, she was influenced by Li Lingtian. Whatever Li Lingtian knew, she knew. Hello, I am the princess of Nandu County. This is Qing Xian country. Your brother was injured because he saved me. I can't just ignore him. I'll bring you back to Nandu County. Once we're there, we can treat his injuries. Chu Meng didn't hesitate and voiced her thoughts. Although this place was not dangerous for the time being, there were often experts who came here to hunt sea beasts. This island was undoubtedly the best place to rest, so there were many experts coming and going. It was naturally impossible to heal in this place. Moreover, she had to return to Nandu County, so she could bring them back to Nandu County. Another thought was that these two were his friends and sister. Their cultivation levels must be quite good. They could also protect her on the way. All right, let's go. Little White nodded and glanced at Long De, who quickly summoned the spaceship. Little White carried Li Lingtian and flew onto the spaceship. When Chu Meng saw the flying ship, he was extremely surprised. There were many flying ships in Qing Xian country and even Nandu County. However, only martial emperors could use flying ships. Only martial emperors could buy flying ships. If they were able to use the flying ship like this, it meant that the two of them might be martial monarch powerhouses. After being slightly surprised, he also rode his sword and arrived on the spaceship. Long De piloted the spaceship while Chu Meng pointed the way. Little White carried Li Lingtian back to the room in the spaceship. Li Lingtian's clothes were soaked in the seawater and were still wet. Little White hugged him and wet her veil as well. She quickly changed out of the veil in front of Li Lingtian. Even though Li Lingtian was unconscious, it should be awkward and embarrassing for a girl to change her clothes in front of a man. However, Xiao Bai was not shy at all. In her eyes, she and Li Lingtian were the same person. It was just that their personalities and genders were different. Besides, Li Lingtian was still unconscious. Before she transformed, she had seen Li Lingtian making love with other girls. It was just that at that time, she didn't know anything, because she hadn't transformed yet. After changing out of his own clothes, he took out a set of clothes from the storage pouch at Li Lingtian's waist and helped Li Lingtian change out. She was extremely shy as she helped Li Lingtian change his clothes. After all, she was an inexperienced girl while Li Lingtian was a man. She closed her eyes and nervously changed out of Li Lingtian's clothes. This way, Li Lingtian would not be soaked in his wet clothes. He could feel the spacecraft flying at high speed, but he could not heal Li Lingtian at the moment because his current condition was not suitable for healing. He had to wait until Li Lingtian woke up to repair his meridians. Then, he would ask Shun Mei, and the others to perform dual cultivation to help Li Lingtian recover his cultivation base and heal his injuries. Chapter 566, Settling Down. Qing Xian was a medium-sized country among the 3,000 countries in the Xian continent. Even if it was just a country, it had immense power and vast territory. No one knew how big the Qing Xian country was. In the Qing Xian country, there were vast seas and mountains. Whether it was the seas or the mountains, they were the places with the most cultivation resources. The overall strength of Qing Xian was only below average among the 3,000 kingdoms. However, it was one of the places with the most abundant resources. Because Qing Xian had the advantage of terrain, but because of this, Qing Xian's forces were in turmoil. Countless kingdoms and kingdoms coveted the resources of Qing Xian. Hence, Qing Xian was always in a state of turmoil and war had never stopped. Below Qing Xian, there were also endless wars. The 48 commanderies were also at war for resources. Each commandery had its own power, but no matter what the war was, they had to listen to Qing Xian's orders. No matter how powerful a commandery was, it was no match for other countries. Nandu County was only one of the 48 counties in Qing Xian. It was located at the edge of the boundless sea and occupied endless resources. However, the other commanderies coveted the resources of Nandu Prefecture, and they were constantly fighting with each other. Chu Tianlan, the commandery prince of Nandu Prefecture, was definitely an outstanding and powerful commandery prince. He managed Nandu Prefecture in an orderly manner. Even in the face of the rejection of countless commanderies, he still stood proudly in the boundless sea. However, in recent years, the competition for resources between the various kingdoms had become more and more intense. Naturally, the Qing Xian kingdom had become the target of the countless kingdoms. Big brother, I'll use the true dragon Qi to stabilize your mind. When we reach Nandu County and your divine sense recovers a little, I'll let Sister May, and the others heal you. Inside the spaceship, Li Lingtian woke up feeling weak and powerless. When Little White saw that Li Lingtian had woken up, it was delighted and stopped circulating its true dragon chi. Both she and Li Lingtian cultivated the true dragon's body barrier. Although they could not use their true essence together, they could use the true dragon's chi to help Li Lingtian stabilize his mind. Along the way, Little White used its true dragon's chi to stabilize Li Lingtian's injuries. However, this method was almost useless because Li Lingtian's injuries were not caused by external forces but were destroyed by a mysterious force in the space-time tunnel. The loss of cultivation was also the most critical reason for his injury. He did not know where to start to recover from his injury, so he could only rely on Li Lingtian now. My clothes. Li Lingtian gave a short, aha, but he did not even have the strength to nod. However, when he felt that the clothes on his body that were originally wet and uncomfortable were gone and had now become clean clothes, he was instantly puzzled. He did not know who had helped him change. I saw that you were drenched and it wasn't good for your body, so I helped you change. I wasn't peeking. When Little White heard Li Lingtian mention the clothes, it blushed and lowered its head. After all, it was indeed a little embarrassing for a naked girl to help a young man change his clothes, but there was nothing she could do at that time. It's been hard on you. Li Lingtian felt awkward. Although the girl was very close to him, they were still a couple. Little White had no choice but to help him change his clothes. Now that he had lost his cultivation, if he kept soaking in his wet clothes, even if he was not injured, he would still fall sick. It's okay. Aren't you my brother? There is no distinction between us. At this moment, Xiao Bai was very open-minded. The two of them looked exactly the same, but their gender and personalities were different. Moreover, the relationship between the two of them was simply incomparable. Naturally, he did not care about these things. I'll go to Nandu County and buy a mansion. I need to recuperate for a period of time and make proper arrangements. When Li Lingtian heard Little White's words and his head was held in Little White's arms, a warm feeling surged in his heart. Before Little White transformed, it was just a battle partner. As his cultivation base soared, he didn't need Little White anymore. However, as time passed, he and Xiao Bai had gotten along very well. Because Xiao Bai had never left him, and in his heart, Xiao Bai was like the closest person to him. After all, he had watched Xiao Bai grow up with his own eyes, and he had practically brought her up. After Little White transformed, this beautiful and mischievous little girl became his joy. Humans were not plants, and no one could be heartless. As time passed, Little White's position in his heart became more and more important, and this position was irreplaceable. There was another person who was almost the same as Little White, and that was Ge. Brother, I understand. You should rest first. I'll call Longda to make arrangements later. Xiao Bai hugged Li Lingtian's head. There was a strange feeling in her arms, but it was not a wild thought. Instead, it was a warm feeling that she hoped the two of them would be like this forever. Girls, regardless of their age, all had maternal love. Li Lingtian was a heaven-defying powerhouse, so they all snuggled up to him like little birds, rarely showing their maternal love. Now that Li Lingtian was injured, she felt extremely upset. If not for her strong will, she would have cried. Yes, I need to rest well. The divine dragon ring can only be opened with true dragon chi. This secret must never be leaked. Li Lingtian leaned into Little White's arms as soon as he finished his sentence. He squeezed his head into Little White's arms as if he was looking for a safe and warm place to sleep. Little White blushed when it saw Li Lingtian like this. However, she understood that Li Lingtian's actions were instinctive. It was a human nature. Li Lingtian was like a child who wanted to find his mother. Otherwise, with his current injuries, he would not have any other thoughts. Gradually, Li Lingtian fell asleep in Little White's arms. This time, Li Lingtian's breathing was much more stable. He was truly sound asleep, just like a very tired person. After an unknown period of time, Little White looked at Li Lingtian, who was in its arms. The entire world felt peaceful and Li Lingtian was the quietest. With a flick of his divine consciousness, a blanket appeared in his storage pouch before he settled Li Lingtian down. She gently closed the door and a string of tears fell. His brother was so powerful in the past, but now he was injured like this. When he came to the deck of the spaceship, the tears on his face had already been wiped away. Longda, find a quiet mansion in Nandu County. My brother needs to recuperate for a period of time. Whitey came to the front of the deck and looked at the flying ship. It said calmly, and its body emitted a powerful aura. Yes, I understand. Longda nodded. There were outsiders here, so he naturally couldn't show too much respect. He had enough spirit stones to buy a mansion. However, Little White handed a storage bag to Longda. She had countless spiritual stones on her. Since she was looking for a mansion, she naturally couldn't lack spiritual stones. The most important thing now was to find a mansion and settle down. How far is it to Nandu County City? Little White turned around and looked at Chu Meng. The current Little White's way of handling things was exactly the same as Li Lingtian's. If it were not for her shorter stature and the feminine charm on her face, no one would be able to tell who she was from Li Lingtian. At this speed, I still need about half an hour. I am more familiar with the matters of the mansion. Some time ago, the Baiming family rebelled and was severely punished by my father. The Baiming family was originally a spy of the Nanming Kingdom. That mansion is currently empty. You guys can move in first. I'll go and inform my father. Chu Meng looked at the distance of the sea and told him the distance to Nandu County. Then, she offered to help. Li Lingtian was injured because of her. Now, they needed a place to settle down. If she could not help them, they would be left speechless. There's no need. My brother never owes anyone a favor. Xiao Bai was stunned for a moment. With Li Lingtian's cultivation base and heaven-defying nature, he naturally did not want to owe him a favor when he was in a difficult situation to avoid future troubles. I'll sell that mansion to you for 10 million spirit stones. Chu Meng didn't expect Little White to reject her so straightforwardly. She was stunned. However, he understood the logic, but he couldn't just stand by and watch. He thought of a way. After saying that, he stretched out his hand to Longda, meaning for Longda to give him the spirit stones. Miss, go take care of your brother. I'll handle these things. Longda was worried that Little White would reject him again, so he quickly sent Little White away. This was because he knew that Xiao Bai was worried about Li Lingtian. There were many things that he had not thought of at the moment. Even though he was worried, he calmed himself down. This was the most critical moment for Li Lingtian and he had to shoulder all the challenges. All right. Whitey turned around and walked into the spaceship without hesitation. She definitely understood Long Da's character. As a member of the Dragon Clan, it was impossible for there to be any evil people. This young girl didn't know their identities when she helped them, so she definitely didn't have a motive. When he returned to his room, he kept his eyes on Li Lingtian and paid attention to the changes in Li Lingtian's aura. Finally, half an hour later, the spaceship stopped. Longda found a beast carriage and Little White carried Li Lingtian into it. Chu Meng personally led Longda and the other two to the mansion. The beast carriage sped forward for 20 minutes before it suddenly stopped. A huge mansion appeared in front of them. Whitey scanned the area with its divine sense. The entire mansion occupied a radius of 10 miles and was built against the mountain. The spiritual energy was extremely dense and the environment was quiet. It was definitely the best place for martial artists to cultivate. However, the mansion was completely silent. There was not a single person in sight. However, this was nothing to Xiao Bai and the others. If there was someone inside, they wouldn't need it. With Li Lingtian in its arms, Little White moved swiftly into the depths of the mansion. There was an independent courtyard in the depths of the mansion surrounded by man-made lakes. After finding a room, he brought Li Lingtian inside. Long De was in charge of the matters outside. He was now responsible for the safety of the mansion. If Li Lingtian had not been injured, he would not have needed to do all these things. However, there was no array formation in this mansion now, so he had to guard it personally. I recommend the new book, Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. I welcome everyone to read and save it. I also want to vote for it. The new book needs everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further. Chapter 567, Healing with the Universe. Jade, I'll go back first. I'll see him again when the time comes. Seeing Little White carrying Li Lingtian into the room, Chu Meng could not follow. He came outside and greeted Long De with a trace of guilt on his face. No need. Long De waved his hand. Now that he had a place to settle down, he naturally would not let anyone disturb him. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had many women around him, all of whom were peerless beauties. It was not good for outsiders to see them, lest they attract attention. He did not know what Li Lingtian was planning to do, but he must not allow anyone to disturb him or reveal his identity. Chu Meng did not mind. She only thought that Long De and Little White were not feeling well after seeing Li Lingtian's condition, which was why they were being rude to her. When Li Lingtian woke up again, it was 3 days later. In 3 days, his cultivation had not improved at all. He was worse than an ordinary person. It was like a person who was about to die. Because he had no cultivation, his meridians were all broken and his body was weak. If it were an ordinary person, they would not be able to survive at all. Brother, you're awake. Little White's eyes were red as it stared at Li Lingtian. When it saw Li Lingtian open his eyes, it quickly greeted him with a sentimental expression. Yes. Li Lingtian acknowledged his words as he looked around. He soon realized that this was not an inn but a mansion where he had settled down. Little White, open the divine dragon ring and let Blue Moon and the others out. Now that they had settled down, they could call Tang Qingyue and the others out. Moreover, it was not a good thing to not have any cultivation at this time. Cultivation was a person's second life. Without cultivation, it was a fate worse than death for martial artists. However, this was not the first time Li Lingtian had experienced such a situation. The last time he went from Green Continent to Azure Continent, his cultivation base had also dropped, but he had quickly recovered in the end. Moreover, he had also obtained endless benefits. He had cultivated some skills that he had not cultivated before to the perfection of martial arts. The current Xianzhou was terrifyingly powerful. Without cultivation, it would definitely not be able to survive. Alright. Little White nodded. It extended its consciousness and connected with the Divine Dragon Ring. Previously, Li Lingtian had mentioned that the Divine Dragon Ring could not be activated without the True Dragon's Qi. A trace of pure True Dragon Qi extended out and wrapped around the Divine Dragon Ring. With a thought, the Divine Dragon Ring opened. His divine sense entered the Divine Dragon Ring and came before Tang Qingyue and the others. She didn't know what to say when she saw how worried Tang Qingyue and the others were. Moreover, she had only entered with her divine sense. Little sister Xiaobai, what happened? Huangfu Yuyan asked when she sensed White Yi's divine sense. This was because Little White was the only one who went out at the beginning. Although they wanted to follow them out, the Divine Dragon Ring had been shut off. It was obvious that Li Lingtian did not do it on purpose, but his divine consciousness was insufficient. Now that White Yi's divine sense had entered, they felt that something was wrong. Everyone was extremely worried. Let's not talk about it for now. Come out quickly. White Yi quickly withdrew its divine sense. Then, Tang Qingyue and the others appeared in the room at the same time. The first thing he did after coming out was to look around for Li Lingtian. However, when they saw the weak Li Lingtian lying on the bed, the girls were heartbroken. They did not know what had happened. "Big brother, what's wrong?" "Husband, how are you?" "Ling Tian, what happened?" "Big brother Ling Tian." "Young master." The girls were anxious as they quickly gathered around the bed and sized up Li Lingtian with their divine perception. When they realized that Li Lingtian's meridians were all broken and his cultivation base was gone, they were shocked to death. They could also sense that Li Lingtian's aura was extremely weak. How could they not feel their hearts ache for the once powerful Li Lingtian who had turned out like this? However, they did not dare to upset Li Lingtian at this point in time and forcefully endured the sadness in their hearts. "I'm fine. I won't die yet." The power of destruction appeared in the space-time tunnel. "My cultivation was exhausted, but fortunately, I survived in the end." Li Lingtian briefly explained what had happened. Just a few words had drained all his energy. The girls were heartbroken. Even the calm Huangfu Yuyan and Tang Qingyue were at a loss. "Yingying, you guys go out first. Let Blue Moon and the others heal me." Li Lingtian did not hesitate either. Time waits for no one. It was only right for them to be anxious. He didn't want to worry this slim and elegant beauty. The only way was to recover from his injuries. He could think of a way to deal with his cultivation in the future. "And, big sister Mei, you guys must definitely save big brother Ling Tian. I still want to become big brother Ling Tian's wife." Xianyuan Yingying nodded obediently. Her face blushed as she whispered to Li Lingtian. As soon as he finished speaking, he left the room. Little White and Ji Yi also left. Only Shen Mei, Huangfu Yuyan, Qingling, Tang Qingyue, and Tang Zimeng were left in the room. Watching Whitey and the others leave, Huangfu Yuyan cast a few restrictions to cover the room. Without hesitation, he sat on the bed and the 5 girls surrounded Li Lingtian. One after another, he cast a series of spells. In an instant, the dual cultivation technique was activated and 5 beams of true essence radiance transformed into colorful light that entered Li Lingtian's body. However, the dual cultivation that had been smooth in the past was now useless. Due to Li Lingtian's broken meridians, he was unable to circulate his quintessential essence. Pfft! Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. Shen Mei, was covered in scarlet blood, but she did not seem to mind at all. Instead, she hugged Li Lingtian at once. "Husband, what happened? This won't do. Ling Tian's meridians can't circulate his energy. I have to find a way to repair his meridians first." "No, I have to repair my meridians. It's better to enter the dragon energy, but big brother Ling Tian can't withstand such dragon energy right now. Young master doesn't have any cultivation base now. We are all martial emperors. Even if young master's meridians are good, he can't take it for the time being." The 5 girls were extremely worried as they began to discuss ways to help Li Lingtian repair his meridians. However, after a long time, there was no way at all. He could not even use dual cultivation, so he could not think of any other way. "Sister Qingyue, ask Little White to come in. Little White should be able to open my husband's divine dragon ring. There's a piece of cosmos jade in the divine dragon ring. I want to use the cosmos jade to dual cultivate with my husband." Shen Mei, suddenly thought of the heaven and earth jade. This heaven and earth jade was given to her by Empress Shen Yu. It was also a treasure for dual cultivation. He had never thought of a solution before, so he did not delve into it. Due to their rapid cultivation in the past, Li Lingtian had no use for the cosmos jade and had kept it in the divine dragon ring. Now, he could try using the cosmos jade. "Alright." Tang Qingyue quickly stood up and went to the door. She opened the restriction and the door and saw Little White and the others in the courtyard. "Little sister Xiaobai, come here for a moment." Tang Qingyue shouted when she saw Little White in the courtyard. Sister Qingyue, what's wrong? Xiao Bai was not embarrassed at all. Although she knew that Li Lingtian and Tang Qingyue were dual practitioners, she could not be bothered to be shy for Li Lingtian's sake. Dual cultivation won't do either. Ling Tian's cultivation is gone, so our true origin can't enter. Go and open the divine dragon ring. There's a piece of cosmos jade inside. Try it out with the cosmos jade. Tang Qingyue said hurriedly. She then pulled Xiao Bai's hand and walked into the room. Seeing Shun Mei, and the others on the bed wearing clothes, Little White couldn't help but be startled. Wasn't dual cultivation supposed to be like that? Why were they all wearing clothes? The girls could not help but blush. They knew what Xiao Bai was thinking, but they did not say anything because Li Lingtian was not in the mood to do so. Little White came before Li Lingtian. With a flick of its divine consciousness, it unleashed its true dragon aura and sent its divine consciousness into the divine dragon ring. She began to search the divine dragon ring. She was shocked to see the wealth in Li Lingtian's divine dragon ring. She knew that Li Lingtian's wealth was astounding, but she did not expect him to have so much. There were mountains of spirit stones, huge piles of weapons and treasures, countless cultivation techniques and skills, jade scrolls, and jade bottles. All of these were piled up like a small mountain. However, Li Lingtian had placed the precious items on a shelf. Every item was grouped together according to their level, making it easy to find them. Whitey's spirit sense searched for the most precious jade slips. 2 minutes later, Whitey's divine sense withdrew. At the same time, a jade pendant appeared in front of everyone. Then, Little White handed the jade pendant to Tang Qingyue and left the room. After Little White left, Tang Qingyue gave the jade pendant to Shun Mei. She went to the bed and surrounded Li Lingtian. A stream of quintessential essence stabilized Li Lingtian and waited for Shun Mei, to use the cosmos jade to save him. Shun Mei, didn't hesitate at all. She threw the universe jade into the air and a true Yuan dynasty jade pendant wrapped around it. At the same time, she released a wisp of blood essence. The blood essence and the cosmos jade came into contact. Immediately, a ray of light appeared. Shun Mei, cast a spell with one hand and pressed the other on Li Lingtian's head. Her true essence slowly entered Li Lingtian's body. Li Lingtian's body began to tremble as his face turned red. He looked like he was in extreme pain. Heaven and Earth Yin Yang reincarnation. After Shun Mei, finished casting her spell, she allowed the cosmos jade to float in the air as she placed her hands on Li Lingtian's head. Instantly, the true essence circulated between the two of them through the Qiankuan jade. Tang Qingyue and the others were filled with anticipation when they saw this. At the very least, Li Lingtian could not rule out the possibility of using quintessential essence. Gradually, the light from the heaven and earth jade enveloped the two of them. Moreover, the mysterious light emitted by the universe jade also entered their bodies. The cosmos jade gradually shrank before it vanished into nothingness. The final ray of light vanished and entered Li Lingtian's body. Sister Qingyue, Sister Yuyan, hurry up. Shun Mei's face was pale as she shouted at Tang Qingyue and the others. As Li Lingtian's body was now activated by the universe jade, his quintessential essence could circulate slightly. This was the critical moment for dual cultivation. If he missed the best opportunity, the power of the universe jade would be wasted. Chapter 568, Plan for a Great Plan and Fight for the World. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. One spell after another was quickly executed, and the 5 true essence fused together. Finally, it entered Li Lingtian's body. However, they could only infuse a tiny bit of their true essence into it. As Li Lingtian did not have any cultivation, his powerful true essence and wisdom could not be supplemented. The 5 of them had serious expressions on their faces, but they gradually revealed a trace of gratification. In Li Lingtian's body, the 2 meridians had been opened and repaired, allowing his true essence to slowly circulate. After 7 days, Tang Qingyue and the others walked out of the room. Their faces were obviously thinner and haggard. However, the expressions on the 5 people's faces calmed down. "Sister Qingyue, how is my brother?" Xiao Bai hurried over. They were more worried outside than inside because they couldn't see what was going on inside. Xianyuan Yingying and Ji Yi were also extremely worried when they saw Tang Qingyue and the others coming out and asking. "Alright, Ling Tian's injuries have temporarily recovered. He can heal himself now. His cultivation will recover quickly after a period of time. He won't cultivate again." Tang Qingyue quickly explained Li Lingtian's situation when she saw the anxious look on Xiao Bai and the others' faces. She felt much more relaxed after she finished explaining. No matter what, Li Lingtian's life was saved. His injuries were able to heal automatically. After a few days, the 5 of them continued to circulate their true essence and finally managed to repair a portion of Li Lingtian's meridians. That's great. As long as Brother Ling Tian can heal himself, he can enter the Divine Dragon Ring to cultivate. At that time, his injuries will recover quickly. Xiao Bai and the rest were elated when they received news of Li Lingtian. To them, they would feel that something was missing if any one of them was missing, let alone Li Lingtian who was injured. "Sister Yuyan, you guys go back and rest first. I'll go take care of Big Brother Ling Tian. With Xiao Xiao by my side, we can take care of Big Brother Ling Tian too," Xianyuan Yingying said as she looked at Tang Qingyue and the others. They had been helping Li Lingtian heal all this while and were both mentally and physically exhausted. Even a man would not be able to withstand it, let alone a girl. The only reason they were able to persevere was because of Li Lingtian. Even if they died, they would not give up on Li Lingtian. This belief allowed the 5 of them to persevere. "Alright then." Tang Zimeng and the others nodded. They did not even have the strength to stand now and almost fell to the ground. Xiao Xiao, Qing Ping, and the others quickly helped Tang Qingyue and the others back to their rooms. In the past few days, Long De and Xiao Bai had tidied up everything in the courtyard. He had bought a dozen maids and servants outside to take care of this mansion. In such a large mansion, even 100 or 200 maids would be too few, let alone a dozen maids. However, this place only needed to be cleaned up a little. Furthermore, they were worried that they would disturb Li Lingtian's rest, so they only found a dozen of them. On the other hand, Long De had specially gone out to find some decent guards to guard the mansion. This mansion had a total of real entrances. The middle was almost independent. Outsiders could not enter the innermost few courtyards. The servants lived outside. The place where Li Lingtian and the others lived was the place where the family of the Baiming family's head used to live. Naturally, it was the best place. After Tang Qingyue and the rest returned to their rooms to rest, Little White went to Li Lingtian's room and watched him recuperate in the Genesis Luck technique. Li Lingtian's face looked a little haggard, but his complexion had changed. However, Li Lingtian could only channel his cultivation technique at the moment. He had no cultivation base and his channeling speed was very slow. "Xiao Xiao, we'll wait here." Little White turned around and spoke to Little White behind him. It then sat on the chair beside Li Lingtian's bed and waited for Li Lingtian to finish his cultivation. The 2 women waited for 3 hours before Li Lingtian stopped. "Little White, take care of this. I'm going to the Dragon Chi of the 3,000 worlds to recuperate." When Li Lingtian woke up and saw Little White there, he spoke without a second thought. "Alright, be careful." Xiao Bai nodded. Li Lingtian always had his own plans. At this time, she naturally did not have any objections. Li Lingtian used his divine consciousness and vanished, leaving only a ring on the bed. Xiao Bai quickly put away the divine dragon ring and closed her eyes to meditate. She used her divine consciousness to sense the divine dragon ring because she needed to know Li Lingtian's condition at all times. While they were recuperating in the mansion, Chu Meng had already returned to the prefecture. Qing Xian had 48 counties, which meant 48 commanderies. Nandu County was equivalent to a country, but it was one level lower than Qing Xian. Chu Tianlan, the king of Nandu Commandery, was already an 8th heaven martial emperor. The cultivation of an 8th heaven martial emperor was considered a super expert among the rulers of commanderies. There were countless experts below. These experts had all formed an army. In Nandu Prefecture, as long as one's cultivation reached warrior spirit, they could join the army and become a member of the commandery army. When one reached the rank of martial king, they would basically be a team leader. When one reached the rank of martial grandmaster, they would be a small commander. The higher one's cultivation was, the higher one's official position would be. Apart from the army, there was also a powerful group of elders. The powerhouses in the elder group were all martial monarch realm experts. Nandu County had a total of 3 million soldiers, all of whom were warrior spirits and martial kings. There were also countless martial ancestors and martial emperors. Martial honors were generals, and martial emperors were commanders. However, these troops were only used for the most basic defense. The real battle would be between martial supremes and martial emperors. Over the years, Nandu Prefecture had been constantly harassed by other commanderies. Not only the commanderies under Qing Xian, but also the experts from other countries had come to harass Nandu Prefecture from time to time. Chu Tianlan had been confused by the fight for Nandu Prefecture's resources for the past 2 years. On this day, as soon as he came out of the meeting hall, he saw Princess Chu Meng returning in a sorry state. Chu Meng was his treasure. Other than Chu Meng, he had a few sisters and brothers. In the royal family, there was no relationship between brothers and sisters. There was only competition and assassination. Meng, what's wrong? Chu Tianlan looked at Chu Meng, who didn't have a single guard by her side, and suddenly, a murderous intent surged in her heart. Father, when I went out to train, I encountered a sea dragon beast. Aunt Yun and the others have all died. When Chu Meng mentioned Aunt Yun, she clearly felt a hint of disappointment on her face. Aunt Yun had brought her up and was almost no different from her mother. Now, she had seen Aunt Yun die in order to save her. Sea dragon beast. There's no sea dragon beast in Nandu County. How did you get it back? Chu Tianlan's heart was filled with killing intent. As the ruler of a commandery, nothing could be hidden from his eyes. Someone must have done something in secret, but he didn't want Chu Meng to see anything. He was curious about how Chu Meng had returned safely. Even Aunt Yun had fallen as a rank 3 martial emperor. Chu Meng was only a martial king. He was indeed curious about how she had returned safely. At the most critical moment, a person appeared and saved me. He was also seriously injured and almost died. Chu Meng recounted everything that had happened that day without missing a single detail. After she finished speaking, she looked at Chu Tianlan. Yes, you did a good job on this matter. Don't tell anyone. In the future, don't disturb them so easily. Nandu County has been in some trouble recently. Countless experts have quietly entered Nandu County. Our Nandu County is in danger. This time, perhaps our Nandu Prefecture will disappear from this world. This Nandu Prefecture will belong to someone else. Chu Tianlan pondered for a long time. From Chu Meng's description, she could not find any reason to say that Li Lingtian was a spy. After all, it happened too suddenly and he was severely injured. If they had any schemes, they would definitely be able to scheme against the Chu clan. Moreover, in the face of a true expert and a great battle, schemes were useless. Meng knows. Chu Meng nodded and returned to her palace. Although Nandu County was a county, it was no different from a big family. However, this family had to listen to the orders of other countries. If they were attacked, Nandu Prefecture would be merged by other commanderies, and their resources would be fought for. Similarly, there were countless experts in the commandery. Experts also had families, and they all wanted to compete for the throne of the commandery. This was a world where the strong were respected. There was naturally no such thing as rebellion. It could only be said that the throne was a symbol of the power of the strong. As the days passed, Li Lingtian's injuries had completely recovered. Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the other two also began to gather information from the outside to relay some news to Li Lingtian. Gradually, Li Lingtian gained a certain understanding of the place. Nandu Prefecture was one of the 48 commanderies under Qing Xian. It was a very important commandery, and its resources occupied half of Qing Xian's world. In the past, it was relatively quiet. Only some experts came to the sea and mountain ranges to hunt demonic beasts and sea beasts in search of medicinal herbs. However, in the past few years, for some reason, the surrounding countries had surrounded Qing Xian. The 48 commanderies below them were also fighting each other. It was as if they were about to leave Qing Xian. Such a situation posed a huge threat to Qing Xian. Li Lingtian had already made up his mind after learning about this. I have a rough understanding of the situation in Qing Xian. The situation is not that good. My cultivation base can only recover by 1 realm per day. During this period of time, we should try our best to gain a foothold in Nandu Prefecture. After that, we can stabilize Nandu Prefecture and slowly resolve the crisis in Qing Xian. After that, we will use Qing Xian to unify the 36 kingdoms and compete with the kingdoms to establish our own dynasty. However, during this period of time, we have to understand the surrounding countries of Qing Xian and secretly recruit some experts. Let Ming Luo and Yun Hao do this. Sky Yao and Long Da are responsible for safety. I'll try my best to recover my cultivation during this period of time and use our original strengths to build a powerful army. On this day, Li Lingtian gathered Tang Qingyue and the rest to discuss the next step. He didn't plan to start from the Qing Xian kingdom. Instead, he planned to start from the commanderies below and slowly develop a stronger force. The world of a country and the world of a sect had their own benefits. A world war between countries would affect countless low-level martial artists, but it could be easily managed. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.